Hey folks, welcome back to another vibe of the week where we get to wonder, plan, and explore the week ahead with this astrological forecast in mind. So, my name is Latoya from Emerald Astrology. I'm super excited to dive in and chat with you about this week. This week overall can be a change of pace. We have Mercury and Venus finally stationing direct. And then we have the full moon in Libra, which Venus rules. So this is going to be a great week of more integration, because last week was about harmony and integration. But we'll have more of that integration energy and finally be able to put our retrograde lessons to the test. We will be able to change things up that makes most sense to us from the lessons that we've learned from those two retrogrades and have this feeling of completion with that as well because of the full moon. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull a card that will support us in this integration week. So let's see what our spirit team has to say that we need to be aware of. I'm going to go ahead and pause this. Okay, so the card I pulled from my Lightworker Oracle deck. Love this one. The planets are included. I think it's just beautiful and my favorite colors. Okay, so the card we got for this week is Initiation by Air. Very beautiful card. Looks like it's over like a Grand Canyon of sorts. And the wings of birds flying from the chest. So let's see what this has to say. All right, so this card, Initiation by Air, is what supports us this week. So you have a strong and powerful mind. The mind could be a great asset. It could bring comfort, peace, and strength as you take your spiritual journey. It can also be a dark and destructive force, undermining your power, making you doubt your own heart, and keeping you trapped in fear. The mind developed without a loving spiritual practice can be a frightening weapon rather than a liberating sword. How will you choose to use your mind power? So we are again going through this experience with the retrogrades, and now we have enough information to put our ideas to the test. How can we have better relationships with Venus? And how can we use our mind better with Mercury now stationing direct? So let me go ahead and let's dive into the astrology of this week. If you love astrology, continue to watch this video. So starting off on Monday, April 7th, we have Venus retrograde conjunct Saturn at 25 degrees Pisces. So keep in mind, as I'm talking about the planets and where signs they are in, keep in mind your birth chart. So this is the transits is what I'm talking about and where the planets are actually moving now. And they are moving through different areas of our lives and bringing up topics about these areas and how we can respond to these energies for our evolution in life. If you think you are a spirit being on a journey here on earth as a human, I believe that. So just keep that in mind as I'm talking about the planets and the signs that they're moving through. They are moving through different areas of your life and manifesting in certain forms. It can be through people. It can be through like your own, psychological development. It could be, through dreams, what have you. They're coming to our lives in different ways, and it will just be something to just kind of keep in mind as I'm talking through this video. So Venus, the planet of love, relationships, women in general, or just women identified people, conjunct Saturn. So she is in her retrograde cycle. So she is going through this like dark night of the soul kind of journey where she is really going through her relationships with a fine tooth comb and figuring out which relationships honor her and her values, what are her values. And so we are going through this analysis right now where we're having to take everything off, and look at things in a very clear, um, sight of like, how is this relationship contributing to the betterment of my life? And with it being conjunct Saturn, this is like revisiting committed love, revisiting committed relationships. This can be platonic, this could be professional, especially with Saturn being involved, or this could be romantic. So revisiting, what am I actually committing to? So this is the big question that we might be having, or kind of trying to get our minds wrapped around, coming here on Monday, April 7th. This also is making us revisit our restrictions in relationships or our boundaries around relationships. So this is, we might, this won't be like an outward expression, so there won't be necessarily something that would be coming at you, but it's more of like an internal process that's going on, because we're reviewing, we're reflecting on our journey with Venus retrograde. And so this could be kind of like, yeah, these things has happened, so what is my boundaries around this relationship? What is my contract around this relationship? What is my restrictions I'm going to place, or are, I feel like more so like placed upon me, because Saturn does have the upper hand here, being in the earlier parts of Pisces. And so Venus is coming back and she is discussing these contracts with Saturn, which is, Saturn is the planet of restriction, of boundaries, of reality, of physical manifestations. So yeah, we're going through this, and we could also have this feeling of reverence for older things, older people, or more of a conservative approach, and history or elders. And with it being in the sign of Pisces, this could be, I personally like looking at Saturn transit in relation to how we are manifesting our dreams, because Pisces rules our dreams and our ideals. And so with Venus coming back here, we could be revisiting what we are recommitting to, so that we can manifest our dreams, so that we can make things happen. And Venus also loves, represents manifestation as well. So she is more associated to money and physical things that money can buy. And Saturn in general is like physical things that we like solidified in our life, materialized in our life. And so, yeah, we're revisiting what is our commitments and relationships that helps us manifest our dreams. This could be going on and at its peak on Monday, April 7th. Also on April 7th, we have Mercury stationing direct. So this is like early on in the week, we're getting this kind of like adjustment happening. So things like technology, communications, alarms, these things could be kind of acting up. And so just be aware that, you set your alarm, you are communicating as clearly as possible, because these can act up a bit whenever Mercury changes pace. And so, yeah, it's stationing direct in Pisces as well. So more of that dream work, more of that vision, more about, thinking about the possibilities in life. And so Mercury stationing direct here, we can now begin the integration process of what we've learned during Mercury retrograde that had started on March 15th. So if you journal, which I suggest always journal, this is like one of the best ways to document your life and figure out, who are you actually. So looking back on March 15th, you can see like, what was I thinking about? What was I reflecting upon? What was going on in my life that was just like really disruptive and made me having to adjust or adjust my approach to life. Looking back on what was going on around then, you could also look at your photos, you could look at your calendar if that's another way that you document your life. Looking back on those, on that day or that week, because it happens in like an orb kind of deal, that will give you some insight of what you've been working through up until April 7th. And that will speak to Mercury's retrograde cycle. So look back on that, and the questions, that you could be asking yourself as you're looking through is, what have you learned about your sense of agency in your life? Because it's been in Aries as well as Pisces. And then, that connection to divinity, connection to your vision. What have you been learning about these two topics in your life? Because Mercury has been bringing this up. Venus will also retrograde. Venus is retrograde, and she sextile Uranus later in the night. And so this will perfect, and this will also be revisiting how we relate to our money and how we want to break out of outdated ideologies around relationships, around our money, and how we receive money, how we receive love, how we allow things and people to support us in our life. So this is going to be helping us break out of some outdated ways of being, ideologies, or just relating in general. So this is great. Especially after we are thinking about how we've been committed or feeling restricted, now we can kind of like have that breakthrough with Uranus in Taurus. Let's see. So moving on to Tuesday, April 8th, we have the moon in Virgo. It's waxing. And this is a great moon to discern which habits to keep and which ones that you need to release. So we're basically cleaning up our act in the next couple of days. If you do moon manifestation, this is a great time to utilize this energy to discern what is right and what is wrong. Kind of looking at life as black and white, and that's totally fine with the moon in Virgo, because there are some things that are blocking you from progress, and there are some things in your life that is actually supporting you and helping you move forward. So we want to put on our discerning glasses on and look into that, especially around topics that Mercury retrograde cycle has been bringing up, because Mercury rules Virgo. So a lot of those lessons will be tied in for the next couple of days, starting April 8th. We'll be feeling through these things, and the support here is needed. Thursday, April 10th, we have moon ingress into Libra. And so this is going to be picking up lessons that we've been wrestling with Venus retrograde, which started March 1st. And this is a great moon to honor relationships that honors our values and supports our values. So really take a look at the people that you've been spending time around. How much time do you allot to those relationships, and do they actually reflect the values that you have? And if you don't know your 3 values, that will be something to explore. Maybe you can Google like a list of like values and just kind of like fine tooth comb, okay, this is something that I've noticed that I really do throughout the day. I enjoy fun, or I enjoy intellectual, relationships, or I like knowledge, learning. Think about what is your decision like your deal breakers. And usually that's what your core values are. So I know, like, personally, I love people who allow space for me to be honest, allow space for me to communicate what I think, even though it might run against what they're trying to do, and they don't take it personally. They allow that dynamic of, let's think things through, even though it might be uncomfortable. So I really value relationships that allow that. As soon as I meet people that are like very narrow-minded and don't allow open communication, I know I'm out. Like that's just like my deal breaker. I can't deal with it. That will that will bring the part of me out that I hate, which is the willingness to scream. It's like because I feel like I can't be heard, so it's just kind of like, yeah, I already know, like if I'm having that dynamic, that person is not for me. I am not with this relationship. I have to go. So yeah, for me, it's I need to feel open lines of communication. I need to feel empowered. I need to feel like I can use my power. I have agency, and acceptance is a big part of relationships. If I don't feel accepted, um, there's likely I'm not going to be sticking around very long. Um, so yeah, think about your deal breakers, and that will likely be where your values lie. So yeah, this moon is bringing that up, and especially regarding your Venus retrograde lessons. So think about where Venus has been going through Aries and Pisces. So those areas of life, Venus has been picking up those topics. And so think about what has been going on around those areas and what has been rearranging, and how does those things align to your values, or how can you live in alignment with your values. So that'll be nice. Moving on to Saturday, April 12th, we have the full moon, 23 degrees in Libra. And so now we're having this completion of the intention that we had set on October 2nd, 2024. So I think this was this would have been one of the eclipses that we had. So I think it was probably a lunar eclipse or solar eclipse, one of the two. But it's how to be the solar eclipse. So this is the completion of that cycle. So what's been going on during that eclipse season and how it has come to completion is definitely front and center with this full moon. So we can reflect upon how we've grown. How did we integrate better with this area of life? Again, speaking on values, because Venus or Libra, one of the keywords of Libra is values, and how we've been living up to it, how we've been bringing justice to our life and relationships that honor these things. So yeah, things you can ask yourself is how is life more balanced here? How is life more harmonious here, or beautiful? And what values or what relationships or what connections to these areas of life that you need to release, and so that you can honor what you value. You can honor the right relationships, the right connections, or places that brings out the best in you. Yeah. And then literally like less than an hour, the ruler of that moon is Venus. She stations direct in Pisces. So now we are really doing that integration process of what we've been learning with the Venus retrograde that started on March 1st. So again, look back at your journals, look at what your calendars, your photos, whatever you document your life, social media. Look back at what you were thinking, what you were doing, what was catching your attention, and reflect on that, that lessons that you've been going through, and what do you want to bring forward into your life, and that are relationships that are honorable, that you feel the love connection. It's kind of like your love for divinity is front and center when you're in these places, connecting to certain people. And how can you bring that more into your circle, your daily life? Yeah, that's what I'm seeing there with this Venus stationing direct. On Sunday, April 13th, we have the moon waning in Scorpio. So this is a great moon to embrace your deep needs and release pains that, or resentments or trauma that prevents you from moving on. So this moon in Scorpio is a very deep moon. It's a fallen moon, so this is kind of like having to work through some really dark stuff that is like not stereotypically comfortable for the moon, but nonetheless needs to be worked on. so that you can elevate, so that you can rise above. So yeah, my favorite rituals to do whenever because I natally have moon, and I was born with moon in Scorpio, so this is kind of like my daily thing. So for me, when I'm finding myself in these like really dark cycles, or just like really stuck in this like low vibrational of existence, I notice, okay, it's time to either cut some cords, or do some kind of cutting ritual, because yeah, I'm struggling here, or because I'm looping or doing something like doing that weird cycling thing. Or I'd like to do this like surrounding myself in golden light. So, like, if I find myself thinking about when a person wronged me, or I had this experience that was really painful, or because I'm a server as well, I had guests that were just like, were not very nice to me, and for whatever reason was having a bad day, and then like projected onto me and the experience that they're having at the restaurant. And so I literally carry that home and just kind of like go through like different ways of how could I have approached that differently, or what was that person actually going through, and like be picking up all kinds of thoughts and whatnot, and just getting myself entangled in the experience. But so like if I'm finding myself doing that and in those painful experiences and making myself sick, what I like to do is be in that experience, and if I can't find a solution, like how can I handle this differently next time, or find the solution or the answer of what was actually going on, and that it really had nothing to do with me. If I cannot find any solution and like bring that to that experience, like reframe that experience, saying, okay, this is the new experience, I will then just send golden light around that experience and imagine myself and that person or that experience or that place in golden light. And I would literally do this until I feel better. And then I'll go, back into my day and just be like, okay, it's good, it's complete. And if I find myself back into that negative space again, I will literally stop, and I will surround myself in that golden light, surround that person in that golden light. And I imagine this golden light is healing light. And so I will do this. I'll keep doing it again and again and again until I can move on. And with that, I will cyclically glean the lesson that I need from that, or the solution will come about after doing that pivot. So maybe you can give that a try with the moon in Scorpio if you're finding yourself in that dark loop. It's just trying to help you heal. It's showing where you have trapped energy, and it's asking to be released. And so that is one of the ways that you can release yourself from those dark loops. So yeah, with this whole week being all about initiation and understanding the power of your mind and how strong you truly are, this is a beautiful week to give it a go. Integrate those lessons with the Mercury retrograde, shift your mindset, and help realize that you can have the relationships that you want, that you can have the professional relationships or connections that you want, that you can do this, that you're not stuck in these dark loop cycles, and stuck in having the same experiences with people or places. You're powerful. And so that is the vibe of the week. I hope that you have a great one. If you want to support my work or get more content, definitely consider becoming a patron. I have different tiers that are available to you. Check that out. See which one works for you. And I hope to see you again soon. All right. See you next time.